Welcome to the Midnight Watch Podcast.
Hey everybody, here at the Midnight Watch, we look for older movies to review, going from the blockbusters to the lacklusters to see which ones are still relevant today. I'm your host Jeremy, along with my brother Josh. Welcome to the maiden voyage of the Midnight Watch podcast. Josh, you excited about this?
I'm super excited, especially considering this is actually the second take of the maiden voyage of the Midnight Watch podcast.
Yes, the first one was so good, we had to do it again.
Yes, never mind the fact that we screwed up the audio file.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fix what's not there when it's in post.
Right.
But yeah, it's the first podcast right now. We're both excited about this. Many more to come. And we decided to pick the movie Mortal Kombat 1995 because, first off, it's an older movie. We can go into the details and see if it actually was a hit, if it wasn't. And for me, actually, I did grow up watching this movie with some of my friends. There was like 3 movies that I watched and throughout the years, and we kind of always come back to them. Josh, what about you? Did you watch this movie when you were growing up?
I did after it had come out. I watched it probably 4 or 5 years after the fact. I was obviously, as most kids, my age and your age at that time period, we were all if not huge fans, we were at least enamored with the Mortal Kombat, video game series. There's nothing else out like it. And, with our very conservative background, or upbringing, I should say, it was super violent, super, gruesome. So I just remember being at the, pizza restaurant or, a arcade or something and watching kids play it. And it was pretty epic. But when the movie came out, I don't know, I think I'd already seen some pretty legit kung fu movies by that point, and it just seemed a little campy to me. And then for sure, I know I had seen The Matrix before I saw this one a few years, after it had come out. And, especially at the time, once you saw The Matrix, it just kind of blew every other kung fu action movie, out of the water. There was just, no standing up to it. So long story short, by the time I got to seeing this one, it just did not impress me at all. And if I had seen it right when it came out when I was younger, or especially if it had come out like when I was 12, because I think I was 15 when this came out. If I'd have been like 12 when I first saw it, I would have been like, this is the coolest movie ever.
Right. I didn't see this movie when it first came out either. I'm trying to think how old I actually was when I saw this, because this was years later than when I saw it, and I didn't see The Matrix before this. There was definitely not a lot of action movies that I saw before I saw this movie, so I actually thought it was pretty good. It was kind of funny though, like even as a teenager, I didn't feel like this movie I didn't know how to put it into words, but I didn't think this movie had a lot of heart to it. It was interesting, but it wasn't like, that's my new favorite movie. But I did watch it a lot though. For me, it is a fun movie to watch. I definitely agree with you. Like, The Matrix which came out 2 or 3 years later than this movie.
Yeah, I think it came out in 98.
98. Yeah,
97, somewhere there.
Yeah, that just completely blew away all. It turned the action movies that like Sylvester Stallone and all that. It made them like, hey, we need to take this very, very seriously now, and it's just a different level. And like every 10 years, a movie comes along and kind of reinvents the genre to a new level. And I think that's why, this movie is definitely campy for me and it's cheesy, but I really like this movie. It's fun. We'll rate it a little bit later, but
right.
Yeah.
Well, I might as well say it now. When I first started watching it, and by the way, my friend Google let me know that The Matrix came out in 1999.
99. Oh.
So it probably was good 5 years after Mortal Kombat came out that I finally saw it. But anyways, when I started watching this movie, I guess it was 2 weeks ago now, just to review it, and I hadn't seen it, in quite a while. and I was totally not enjoying it because it felt like it was trying to be more serious than what I was seeing. And then about halfway through the movies, like the switch got flipped, and all of a sudden I was like, "This movie is super fun. It's terrible, but I'm actually enjoying myself, and it's really fun."
Yeah. No, I definitely agree. We should probably read the synopsis. We just jumped
Oh
into
yeah.
it. What, Josh? What's the synopsis of the film?
Well, Jeremy, let me tell you. Let me pull that up. Okay, so the plot of the film follows the warrior monk Liu Kang, the actor Johnny Cage, and the soldier Sonya Blade, all three guided by the god Raiden on their journey to combat the evil sorcerer Shang Tsung and his forces in a tournament to save Earth. The film's primary source material was 1992's original game of the same title, but it was also inspired by and incorporates elements of 1993's follow-up game, Mortal Kombat 2.
There we go. Let's see here. This movie was directed by Paul W. Anderson, not Paul Thomas Anderson. If you're expecting, I actually would love to see this movie if it was directed by Paul Thomas Anderson. I think there'd be a lot more.
That would be crazy.
There'd be a lot more talking and probably less stunts, but I don't know.
I think the violence though would have been super like explosive and like out of left field, like shockingly violent parts of it.
That's a whole other we need to go down that rabbit hole sometime. Rabbit trail. There's another Matrix reference. White rabbit, go down the. Okay, never mind. Talking to about Mortal Kombat again. So one thing I immediately struck me from this movie is how bad the dialogue is. It is like it's like junior hires wrote a love or a story about these characters, and then they're just doing their best with it. The dialogue is horrible, but it's amazingly horrible.
Right.
Like one like at the beginning of the movie when they introduced Sonya Blade, this one guy, she's like, "Did you secure the perimeter?" And the other guy's Jax, actually, in a cameo. He's like, "Yeah, you don't trust me?" And she's like, "I trust one person on this planet, Jax. You're talking to her." And it's just, as soon as you say that, you're like, "Oh, we're in for a ride." And then right after that, they go through the crowd of people that are at that concert. They're just like beating the snot out of them as they're trying to get to Shang Tsung. And I'm like, oh, those poor people at that concert. They just came to see a metal show, and I'm getting smacked in the back with a shotgun. Yeah. Well,
I mean, if you've ever been in a circle pit before, I mean, I guess it's not too different.
I've never been hit in the back of the head though with a shotgun. I've taken a fist to the face a few times at those shows, but that's a little bit more to be expected. If somebody pulled a shotgun out first off and started swinging around, I'd be like, okay, where's the merch table? Because I'm out of here. Grab a t-shirt.
I'm going home.
Yeah. Where's that new CD? Yeah. No, but let's see what going on with this. Yeah, Sonya Blade is just right out of the gate. You're like, oh, this is the type of movie you're in. Oh,
right.
Real quick, the very first scene in the movie, my wife and I call it the crunch scene because it's been so many times. We'll start the movie and she forgets what the movie's about. And then the first scene is just Shang Tsung just breaking Liu Kang's younger brother's bones over and over. It's just like, and it's so awkward. She's always like, what the heck is this? We get past that scene, and then we settle in, and the movie's great.
Unfortunately, Shang Tsung, was a terrible fighter in the movie, so that they just had to give him those bone crunching abilities, I guess.
Yeah, that's true. They did have a good lead up, though. Oh, I forgot. We didn't even mention the song, the theme song to this movie. Really good song. It's very, when you hear it, you're like, that's the Mortal Kombat theme song. Except it's not the Mortal Kombat theme song, actually. It's the song it's called Techno Syndrome, and it's not in any of the Mortal Kombat movies until, I think, Mortal Kombat 11, which came out a couple years ago. And this movie came out in 1995. So that's just kind of strange, like how that works.
Right. Well, I guess that just shows the impact of that movie on culture from when you hear that song and then you're like, oh, it's Mortal Kombat.
That's a good point. That's a really good point. Let's see. So this movie actually made some money. It was on, the budget was around like $20 million. and it made worldwide over 122 million. And so that was actually it was a hit. It was #1 in theaters for a couple of weeks, and that was pretty cool.
Right. Well, their target audience was, kids our age, high school, junior high school age kids. So I'm sure they all went and saw it.
Yeah.
Especially because the game was huge. I mean, if mom and dad would have let me go when I was
that's true,
that young, I probably would have gone and checked it out.
You know what's funny? When I was a kid, or when this came out, the poster for this movie like freaked me out with the sign, the Mortal Kombat sign. But watching the actual movie, I think the movie's less scary than the poster. It's just,
yeah.
I mean, it's a great poster. We should totally rate posters of movies. That would be really fun. Because
there's definitely a lot of movies that have a great poster, and the movie's a total dog turd.
Right. You cannot judge the movie by its poster.
No.
Yeah.
And vice versa too. But
yeah, that's true.
We digress.
The real question: would you put this poster up in your garage?
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Does it rate the man cave treatment?
Right. I think it would work if I feel like we're going somewhere weird. Let's keep moving.
Keep moving along.
Okay. All right.
Thank God it's only the first episode here.
Right. Yeah. Plenty of times for us to get fired and then picked up by somebody else. So it's kind of funny actually. The original screenplay for the film was more faithful to the games, in that it had graphic violence and had strong language, making it an R-rated script. But there was a deal that the producers had with New Line Cinema that included that they had to deliver a PG-13 movie to keep the film accessible to the target audience, which is kind of funny because like a ton of teenagers played or watched this movie, but the games are M-rated, which is like actually
right.
This is a good question. I don't think that they had the rating system the same that they do now in 1992.
If Wikipedia is correct, this game series was what really lit a fire under that whole rating system because it was so violent compared to anything else, and that's when good conservative people were like, we can't have this. So,
right.
Thus, they came up with the rating system.
Yeah, that and Night Trap, I think, was the other one. I never played Night Trap.
I don't even remember that one.
There's a really good review. Shout out to Jeremy Johns, who he actually does a video about Night Trap, and it's pretty fun. Just check it out.
Cool.
But all right, let's keep going through the movie. So all the actors actually, believe it or not, like the choreography in this movie is not amazing at all. It starts off horrible, and then it gets to subpar by the end of the movie.
Right.
And but all the actors did their own stunts, which is pretty cool. So
yeah, always a cool thing.
Yeah, they're like kudos for that for sure. That's not everybody's Tom Cruise, but that's pretty cool when people do their own stunts.
Yeah.
And also too, like the other thing too, Christopher Lambert plays Raiden, and I thought he was horribly miscast. And it was like, this guy is this juggernaut of an action hero from the late '80s in the Highlander series.
Right.
And it's like, what is he doing in this movie? Like, he doesn't fight at all. He's just cracking these little one-liners, and he's like, which is actually, that's my favorite part of the movie.
He does, yeah. If it wasn't for Shang Tsung, in my opinion, Christopher Lambert would have totally owned that whole movie.
Yeah.
With his cheesy one-liners.
Right. Which actually he made up those cheesy one-liners. Those were not in the original script. The same actually with the actor that played Johnny Cage. All of his one-liners he made up on the spot too. Shows the power of the script in this movie.
There you go. Or the lack thereof.
Right.
Of power.
The movie is actually not even about Liu Kang. He just was this guy who kept walking up on set. I'm joking. That's not true.
This guy's got some talent.
Right. Let's just follow him. Oh,
speaking of talent, though, and we're just gonna say this, but the actor Cary Hiroyuki Tagawa. I'm sorry, Mr. Tagawa, for butchering your name, but the actor that played Shang Tsung, that guy is amazing. He's been in some really good movies and shows, and most recently, notably, Man in the High Castle.
Yes. You know what's also interesting about this movie too is there's several different things that was actually going to be really cool with this movie. I will say this: Paul Anderson he's definitely he's like a low budget Michael Bay, in that he does these action movies that are interesting to watch, but there's not really a lot of substance in it.
Sure.
But he really was trying with this movie. This was his big break. He was only known for a short that was called Shopping. Apparently was pretty violent, but a lot of people liked the way it was filmed. So that's why he got this movie. And he was really trying his best. The one actor in the beginning that gives Johnny Cage the invite to Mortal Kombat is this random guy that Johnny Cage is supposed to know. It looks like some director. Apparently, Steven Spielberg was actually supposed to have a little bit of a cameo right then, but they were scheduling conflicts, and so he wasn't able to come in and shoot that one scene.
Wow, that would have been a huge Easter egg.
Yeah, that would have been pretty freaking cool. Because it's weird. That guy is like a mixture of the way he looks of like Steven Spielberg and George Lucas. He's like right in the middle. Like they couldn't decide what he was going to look like.
Yeah, no, you're right.
But
I didn't even think about that when I saw it.
Well, this time I was watching, I was like, why is this guy important? But that makes sense now if it was supposed to be Steven Spielberg. Another cool thing about this is that actually Johnny Cage was originally that they were going to offer the role to Brandon Lee before he passed away. And so that would have been kind of interesting. I bet this actually would have helped the movie probably.
I'm sure. Well, the other thing that would have helped too was the Johnny Cage, I don't know, mock-up for the game was based off of Jean-Claude Van Damme. And they also tried to get him to be in the movie to play Johnny Cage, but he was already signed up to make Street Fighter.
Right. I forgot about that. That's so funny.
So,
which that movie
also another thing that would have, right? We got to do that movie too. We're gonna have to do a series of bad fighting movies. Not just action movies, but fighting movies.
One thing that's interesting though between Mortal Kombat and Street Fighter 2, or Street Fighter the movie, is both villains, like Raul Julia, who plays M. Bison, like both of them are like the best actors out of the entire movie. Like right. They really are. Like they kind of nailed their characters. They knew they were going to be kind of cheesy and owned it. But so another thing I thought was cool about this is Goro actually was animatronic. Like there was a guy there, and they made an animatronic suit that they put on his shoulders that had another set of arms, and somebody else controlled the top arms and the head. So at first I thought that was claymation, but then I watched a cool video on YouTube, the making of Mortal Kombat, and it showed them controlling it. So that's there's no CG or claymation with Goro. That's somebody controlling him while they're fighting, which is pretty awesome.
That is.
So the making of this
movie,
and
definitely where 15 million of the 20 million went into that movie.
Probably a solid mill for sure. Yeah, they were like, we're gonna make this guy look as realistic as possible.
Right.
Yeah, which they are actually making they are remaking this. Well, I guess I don't know if they're remaking this. They're making a new Mortal Kombat movie that's supposed to be a hard R. So we'll see. We'll see when that happens. They've done some cool web series stuff, which was pretty interesting.
Yes, I have seen some of that. That was definitely impressive. Some of that stuff's been out for a little while now too. Yeah,
that was pretty good. So what do you think was actually the most violent part of this movie?
Oh man. Probably I guess Scorpion's fatality.
That's exactly what I was thinking too. Yeah.
It had such a Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade when the Nazis opened up the Ark. It had such a weird combination of
No, that's Raiders of the Lost Ark, man.
Oh, you're right. It is when they open the Ark in Raiders of the Lost Ark. You get my movie straight here.
Boy.
Yes, but when the Nazi commander or whatever, when he just totally deteriorates and his eyeballs fall out of his head. No, that's Last Crusade.
No, dude, it's freaking Raiders.
Is it Raiders?
It's Raiders. They open up the Ark, and then like the fire comes out of the Ark and melts him.
Because I know. Okay, I was right.
Wait,
I was thinking of the right one.
Are you thinking of Last Crusade where he drinks from the chalice and then he melts? It's kind of the same thing happens actually.
Right. I think that's why I'm blending them together in my head. But anyways, it had a very Indiana Jones vibe, just like the special effects of his fatality. It's. I mean, when we think about it, it's super PG-13. I think they had better graphics and they could have made it actually disturbing to watch him,
right?
Fall apart like that. But I think they did kind of cheese it up to make it not too heavy for the kiddies.
Right. No, you definitely don't want it to be too violent. Poor Scorpion. Yeah.
Right.
Who's
but
that?
I think, and it's funny because at that point in the movie, I think is when I started really having fun watching it, and then it made me kind of appreciate stuff in the first half.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Also, a little shout out to Sonya Blade's fight scene when she has her little bout or whatever you want to call it. So bad. So bad. I mean, it makes Roger Moore look good in his James Bond fighting sequences.
Roger Moore, though, always looked good.
He did. He is a dang good looking Bond for sure.
Yeah, he was
suave.
It's definitely suave. Yeah, no, what's funny is actually the actor that plays, what's the guy that she's going after in the movie?
Kano. Kano.
Kano. So yeah, that guy though, I always thought that he was this time when I watched it, I knew it wasn't true, but I thought that he was number 1 from Star Trek Next Generation. I was like, it's Riker. And then I was like, no, it's not Riker. But that would have been amazing if it was, because he's a tall, imposing guy with a solid looking beard there.
Yes.
But yes, that fight scene was definitely that fight scene would have looked better if it was in slow motion, actually. It was already pretty slow.
Right. Could it get slower?
There is the first actual fight scene is 35 minutes into the movie. It's an hour and a half long movie, and then right after though, the first one though, it goes 7 fights in a row, which is pretty fast actually. Like, it's pretty cool. But I mean, this movie doesn't have a lot of story to it. But to be honest, I didn't even know there was a plot in the original Mortal Kombat game for a while.
Right. I don't think any kid did. I mean, it was a tournament. You fight until and there's kind of a bad guy at the end, and then you beat him, and then there you go.
There you are. That's all you need.
Which, I mean, I don't know, video game fighting movies are always difficult because, generally there's just never any kind of a plot really, other than, a few little lines of dialogue at the beginning when the game opens, scrolling down the screen.
I gotta say, like, this one thing, so there's 10 fights actually in this entire movie. So that's not too bad. I think they slowly get better actually, or let me rephrase that, they get more entertaining, or maybe I was just pulled in by the charm of this movie not being that interesting, not that good, but in a charming way.
Sure. So I think you just have to accept it's gonna suck, but it's gonna suck pretty awesome. And and then plus the really bad one-liners, it just kind of lets you just relax and be like, okay, this is that kind of movie. Let's go.
This is a great background movie. I think, like, if you're at a party and you want to have a movie on, this is a great movie because you don't have to pay attention to it. You can just start watching it for 5 minutes. Oh, that was cool, and then go back to what you were doing before.
Right. I do have another bit of trivia you told me about before about Christopher Lambert, or you can go ahead and say this too, about how he was a big gamer. You were saying in the early 90s or whatever. So he actually really loved this game and wanted to be a part of the movie. And even though they really couldn't afford to pay him, when they were shooting on location, he paid for his own food and lodging and transportation. And then obviously had to write his own lines.
Yeah, no, pretty much. He did not have a lot to do in this, for sure. Yeah, no, that's so cool though. He just had a great time, and he was like, I just want to be part of this because I love this game. Which, to me now, that makes it even more fun watching it. And it kind of redeems anything he does in the movie because he's probably the main fan out of this movie. But there's 2 people in this movie though that are big fans as well, and that are the 2 bros during Goro's fights when they're like looking at each other like, yeah.
Oh yeah.
I pointed it out to my wife. I was like, look, watch these two big meatheads are like, when Goro's fighting whoever, like they'll flash over to these 2 guys that are yelling at each other going, yeah, and they do
they were broing super hard.
They do it like 5 times, and you're just like, Did somebody lose a bet? Like, why is this? It's funny. Like, why do they keep putting this in? So
Right.
keep an eye out for the two bros. That's pretty good. The fight choreography was not amazing in this movie. I think if they actually brought in legit choreographer who was really good with movies, like Corey Yoon or Yoon Woo Ping, either one of them would have been fantastic. That would have brought to a completely different level.
Yeah, it would have brought some legitimacy just to the martial arts aspect of it.
Right.
Which is unfortunate, since that's the whole concept, is that it's, this martial arts, epic,
I think,
thing.
In the 90s, potentially, maybe a lot of people were expecting this movie to not be like the ultimate kung fu movie, but more of a gateway kung fu movie for younger people to get into that.
That's fair.
If not, I hope then we'll pretend it was, because that makes the movie make more sense.
Right. Well, I mean, yeah, you think about it. If we went and had seen this movie, it was PG-13, and then when you got older to be able to go see, our movies, and I'm coming from the basis of, conservative family, to finally be able to get to watch like Jet Li's Red Dragon when that came out, or something like that, like a legit rated R, or Jackie Chan's Rumble in the Bronx. Actually, was that PG-13? That might have been PG-13.
I never saw that one, actually.
Oh, classic. It's good. Legit. Another guy does his own stunts.
That guy does his own stunts so much that insurance companies don't want to insure him here in America because he always hurts himself.
Yes. Yeah, he had an epic one in that movie. I think he jumped off a huge scaffolding or a crane onto a hovercraft or something. I don't know. It was some like crazy 100-foot jump or something ridiculous like that.
That guy.
But anyways, I do think that's a kind of a cool assessment to see that it could totally be a gateway movie into some legit, even to this day, pretty good martial arts movies.
Yeah, I agree. Now, I'm trying to think like what. So exactly. So we have two ways that we actually decide how a movie is good. It's like, number one, did it hit what it was aiming for when it came out? And then number two is personal enjoyment. So with this, are you thinking about giving the movie your rating? You got an idea now?
I give it a B.
Do you think it actually, in 1995, did it do what it was trying to do?
Well, considering that it definitely made back its money, I think for sure it did. I think they definitely rode the success of the games really well and caught that target audience. And, a bunch of kids went and saw the movie, and even if they didn't like it, they all went and saw the movie anyways.
That's true.
Yeah, I think it worked for the time period. Watching it, later, to give it a B rating, because I was entertained, but only at how bad it was.
Yeah.
And it was and fun and bad, and it brought back a lot of fun memories of being a kid when this video game came out and enjoying that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, B definitely for hitting its mark. It was. I don't think it was a blockbuster, but it definitely was a hit. For sure.
Sure.
And then and personal enjoyment. Yeah, this is a classic, so bad it's good movie. Well, I don't even know if it's that. No, I take it back. It's just it's cheesy. It's a classic cheesy movie.
Sure.
And I enjoy watching this movie at least once a year, something like that. I just pop it on, and it's just fun, something you can just relax, let your guard down, and enjoy it. So it's not my favorite, but it's definitely, I'd give it a B for sure. It's definitely good. It's better than average at being a cheesy movie. Right.
Well, I mean, like we just kind of keep saying, I mean, it's got that nostalgic vibe. It's very 90s, very mid 90s.
Yes. And another thing too is this movie actually held the crown for being the best video game movie for, I want to say, probably 20 years. And
wow.
Yeah.
It's really sad. Or impressive? I don't know.
That's impressively sad. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think actually I'm trying to think of a movie that was actually a good version of it's hard to adapt a video game into some movies because the games are either 70 hours long or there's not hardly any plot anyways. And
right. It's definitely hard to find that sweet spot in the middle.
Yeah.
I think the way that TV has really captured the long form of, visual storytelling, I think maybe some of these video games would make a great miniseries or a great TV series. Especially like you said, those 70-hour ones that have, a ton of storyline in it.
Absolutely.
But I think it's always going to be a struggle to make a, hour and a half, 2-hour movie.
Yeah.
And do it well.
Now, the one thing that's funny is that we were mentioning TV shows. I didn't know this until I was looking up some trivia on this movie. They actually had a TV show that came out after this movie. It was 1 season long, and it apparently was started, like, there's a cult following for that TV show, but it was starting to get pretty good, apparently, for a 1996 TV show.
Wow.
Pretty amazing. And then they came out with
amazing.
They came out with the sequel movie, and they if you thought Mortal Kombat was cheesy, wait till you see Mortal Kombat Annihilation. It makes Mortal Kombat look like Lord of the Rings. Like, yeah.
Wow.
It is horrible. We can't wait to review that movie. You know, it's funny, though. I watched these movies back to back the first time I saw them, Mortal Kombat and Mortal Kombat Annihilation, and I actually liked the second movie better as a kid than the first one. And I think it's because they have like 3 times as many characters, and there's a lot more fight scenes, and the movie makes no sense at all. So watching it, it's just kind of like watching a 2-hour-long music video.
Right on.
I guess that kind of goes to show what you guys are in for this podcast. If I think that Annihilation is better than the first Mortal Kombat, get ready for some other ones.
Well, I'm going to chalk this up to the first episode.
First episode. Well, thanks, guys, for listening.
Upwards.
Yes. Yeah. Please rate us, review us. If you enjoyed it, share it, all that good stuff. And thanks for listening. We got another hot movie coming up next week. We're going to be trying to release these once a week is what we're looking at. So far, I think we'll be able to do that. Give you a clue. It is a movie that's based off a book. They did a remake of the movie. If you have pets, you might be interested in watching this movie. Now that I think about it, I definitely wouldn't want to watch this movie if this is a movie about pets. Anyways, so if you think you know what it is, then go ahead and leave a comment where there's a spot to leave a comment. And if there's not, we're still putting this podcast together. So hang in there, watchers. We'll see where we go. And as always, keep up the watch.